tonight.
So it's either kill yourself or kill him?
Yes.
The U.S. could be the bigger loser in it if it really got dramatic.
CryptoKitties is an iconic part of this whole ecosystem.
The Senate confirmed Gina Haspel as CIA director.
The ayes are 54, the nays are 45, and the nomination is confirmed.
Yes votes from 6 Democrats put her over the top. Happy anniversary to Robert Mueller. In his first year on the job, he's racked up charges against 19 people and 3 Russian companies, 5 guilty pleas, 1 person sent to jail, and 38 presidential tweets calling the investigation a witch hunt. The number of births per 1,000 women in America last year was the lowest that's ever been recorded. The rate of teen births fell 70% from its high point in 1991, and the only group whose rate went up between 2016 and 2017 were women in their early 40s, with a 2% jump. Tourists are descending on Windsor Castle to save their spots for Saturday's royal wedding, and their expectations are entirely reasonable.
I want them to come through those gates to look at me and wave and smile, and that will make it all worthwhile. It really will.
The best thing he could ever do is to make a deal.
President Trump seemed to drop a hint to Kim Jong-un that the U.S. will work to keep Kim in power if he plays ball in nuclear negotiations.
We're willing to do a lot, and he'll get protection. I think Kim Jong-un is going to be very, very happy. I really believe he's going to be very happy.
The Philippines is the only country in the world, besides Vatican City, where divorce is illegal. Now its lawmakers are working to change that. The Philippine Senate is back in session this week, and it's considering a bill that for the first time would allow people to divorce. The House of Representatives already gave it their stamp of approval in March. But even if senators say yes, President Duterte would still have to sign off. He's dodged questions about it, but his spokesperson has said he's against divorce. And beyond Duterte, there's a powerful institutional opponent, the Catholic Church.
I was married for 21 years. On the first day, the horror story started, actually. He slapped me when he found out that I burnt the food I cooked. I asked forgiveness, but no, he did not stop. He just hit me and hit me and hit me. And I said, wow, is this the man I married?
Cecil Leuenberger Huenko felt trapped in a marriage she couldn't get out of. Now she's a pro-divorce activist. What was the worst thing he did to you?
The rape.
Did you have any support?
No, from the church, no. I want to really be separated from him to save my life and my children.
Huenko eventually left the country to escape from her husband, but legally she wasn't free of him until he died in 2016. Towards the end, when you really wanted to get out of the relationship, but you couldn't divorce him, did you ever think of taking more extreme measures?
I planned to kill him by a syringe. And then when he's very drunk, you inject it here at the neck with air, filled with air, and then he'll die. Before that, I was planning to jump from a building.
So it's either kill yourself or kill him?
Yes.
The decision on whether to legalize divorce has split public opinion. In a recent survey, a narrow majority, 53%, said they supported divorce.
Let's not deny that this is a controversial bill.
Congresswoman Pia Cayetano, one of the authors of the bill, is trying to win people over and dispel the myths about her proposed new law. Here, she's doing a live interview with a popular blogger.
By no way is it our intention na masira ang sanctity ng marriage.
Cayetano is pushing for change because she says that the current laws are stacked against women.
So marital infidelity is not treated the same way for men and women in this country. For a man, it has to be under certain circumstances, including scandalous circumstances. So if he doesn't have sex with another woman under scandalous circumstances, in other words, if he actually went to a hotel or motel quietly, then that's not marital infidelity. But if a woman did the same thing, that would be marital infidelity.
Why is divorce still illegal in this country?
We have a very strong and influential Catholic Church.
In a country where over 80% of the citizens identify as Catholic, the Church has historically had influence over public opinion and politics. It's a big provider of education and social services, and it played a powerful role in ousting a past president, Ferdinand Marcos. When a bill that included free access to contraceptives passed in 2012, the Church retaliated by publicly shaming politicians like Cayetano who'd voted for it.
Their names were put on streamers in black in front of the church. My name was mentioned in church as whatever, messenger of the demon.
At ang aral ng simbahan ay walang iba kundi ang aral ni Jesus.
Catholic Bishop Roderick Pabilo holds Mass several times a week. This church has 13 Masses every Sunday.
Kumain na kayo? Kumain na kayo? Kumain na?
His stance is that a couple of options are acceptable as a last resort, including legal separations, which don't allow people to remarry, and annulments, which cost thousands of dollars, putting them out of reach for many poor Filipinos.
Palaging mukha kayong masaya.
But the bishop doesn't think that divorce should be allowed, ever.
We've spoken to women who have been abused by their partners, and yet they still are not allowed to leave their husbands.
It's not that they are not allowed to leave. They can leave their husbands because there is also the legal separation.
If someone hits you, can't you leave them legally?
You can leave them legally, but don't get married again because you made yourself that promise.
The Philippines and the Vatican remain the only two places in the entire world where divorce isn't legal. Doesn't that tell you something? Why are you behind the times?
Are we behind the times or are we holding on to what is right?
The Church advocates other solutions, like couples counselling. Couples for Christ is an organisation that offers such services. They work to keep families together through guidance and fashion.
So this is the gift shop?
So this is the gift shop. This is called the Ablaze store. Ablaze is our brand for this, the clothing.
Oh, I like this one. Chastity versus lust.
Yes.
Which one's the best one?
Of course, this one.
Lawrence Quintero oversees the group's programs.
So do you feel under attack from a bill that would allow divorce, that would make it legal?
Definitely, of course. It's an attack to family. If you are allowing a law or a bill that will allow destruction of marriages of family, that will destruct the whole society.
What are you doing to challenge that?
We are starting to put billboards now, and you will see some posters on a bus that family is a gift.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Kaya i-boomerang ko, pwede ba yan? Gano'n na lang.
With the Senate back in session, Hueco, Cayetano, and other members of the grassroots pro-divorce movement are planning their next move, a 100-person march. It doesn't sound like much, especially when the church rallied 2,000 people for an anti-divorce march in February. But if 100 people show, it will be the country's biggest pro-divorce march ever.
The song is Survive.
But even pro-divorce activists have to plan their protests around Mass.
And then the Unity Walk, which is going to be on a Sunday. Please mark your calendars. If you have to go to church, you can go in the afternoon.
Today and tomorrow, Chinese officials and members of President Trump's economic team will meet at the Treasury Department to try to work out a deal that would avoid a trade war. The U.S. wants China to trim its trade surplus and to change the way it deals with American intellectual property. China wants the U.S. to drop its tariff threats and ease up on cell phone maker ZTE. There's also a more local angle to the negotiations. States have their own economic ties to China. In Iowa, a quarter of the state's soybean crop goes to the Chinese market, part of the larger $2 billion trading relationship. And the connection between Iowa and China goes beyond money.
So, this was a photo from 1985.
This is Xi Jinping there?
Yeah.
Just joking around and...
Yeah. They seem to be silly and fun.
How young he was.
Yeah.
Sarah Landy organized Xi Jinping's first visit to this Mississippi River town in Iowa in 1985. At the time, Xi was a county-level official with the Communist Party, on a mission to learn about advanced agricultural techniques. Landy was a member of the Iowa Sister States organization, which was forging ties with China. In 2012, Xi came back to Landy's house, this time as China's vice president.
Vice President Xi, welcome back to Iowa.
When he walked in, the smile that he had on his face, everybody was glad to greet one another. Xi Jinping made a few remarks that each of the old friends shared a memory. And he remembered almost everything about all the people. It has had a lasting effect.
A couple miles down the road from Landy is the home where Xi stayed in '85. The house is now owned by Glad Chang, a Chinese businessman who arrived in Muscatine in 2013, shortly after Xi became the president of China.
Mrs. Landy arranged them to stay in this house and just like a host family.
So you bought this house and you turned it into a museum?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a very interesting story.
Admission to the museum is free. Most of its visitors are Chinese tourists. This is the bed where he slept?
Yeah.
Is it possible that Muscatine is more famous in China than it is in America?
Yeah.
I never heard of it before this.
Yeah, I think now Muscatine in China is very famous.
These cultural ties mean that for a farmer and businessman like Steve Sukup, trade with China is not purely a financial transaction. In '85, Sukup's farm was one of the stops on Xi's tour. They were out here to learn for the most part.
Yes, yeah. They wanted to talk crop agriculture and a little bit of livestock. Wanted to learn stuff. He was very inquisitive and asked a lot of questions and knew that he was absorbing it. Wasn't just sort of talking about it, that he really wanted to bring back some information to China.
Now, Sukup runs one of Iowa's largest grain bin manufacturers. He's a supporter of President Trump, but the talk of tariffs and trade wars has taken a toll on his business.
Steel is our number one raw material we use, and if steel prices go up to 10, 20, 40%, which we saw this past year, it changes our pricing, and so our customers are very concerned about that.
If there is a trade war, does one side have more to lose than the other?
I really believe that Iowa and the U.S. could be the bigger loser in it if it really got dramatic, whether it's on the steel tariffs or embargoes. We'd be the first ones to lose on that.
What is the China-Iowa relationship?
Well, I think it's become a personal relationship. There is a trust that develops there. I mean, looking each other in the eye and saying, okay, what can you do? What's fair? What can we do differently in the future to make it better?
The Chinese in particular, they're saying, okay, Washington is a little more hostile to us, but we have Iowa.
No, I think as long as there's a base that they feel comfortable with and is an important base to them, because we do supply them with a lot of good value product, that they'll hopefully take that into consideration. I mean, we've had chances to personally visit with President Xi. There is that personal connection that we can hopefully get beyond some of the trade talks.
Each decade, the U.S. must count every single person living in this country. It's the most complicated thing the government does, aside from going to war. The next census is just 2 years away, so the Census Bureau is preparing for the main event by running a dress rehearsal in Providence County, Rhode Island. But you wouldn't know it from being there.
Did you know the census test run was happening in Providence?
No, did not. It's like the U.S. Census.
Providence was chosen in part because its demographics mirror that of the U.S. The test run is especially key for 2020. This is the first census that won't rely on pen and paper. People will be able to fill out the census online, and door-to-door census workers will be collecting data on smartphones.
What are you trying to figure out with the test run?
The goal here is to make sure that if someone goes online, they're able to fill out their form, that we're able to get that information back into our systems, that we don't go knock on their door because they've already completed their form. That's really the goal of 2018.
How is that going?
So far, so good. There's been no showstoppers so far.
10 years ago, a test run using handheld devices was so disastrous that they went back to the paper forms. Things seem to be going better this time.
We've received over 40% response rate online, which I think is fantastic, given that we don't have a robust paid media campaign for 2018 and we don't have a robust partnership campaign.
Actually, there's no paid media campaign. Thanks to federal budget cuts, the Bureau is spending $0 on outreach in Providence. So libraries are doing some marketing of their own.
Quick tap here, and boom, you're right on it.
Oh. You can get $5 off late fees if you fill out the census on this tablet.
How long has this been up about in the library?
A couple of weeks, I guess.
And how many people have come through to use it?
Unfortunately, well, here's the thing. A lot of people have looked at it. So far we've had one that I can vouch for. One person's come in and done it. And, and the coupon was an incentive on that.
This is a plate. They don't give these out anymore. It's Bureau of the Census plate.
John Thompson was the census director until he left his post at the Bureau last year. While in office, he led the effort to digitize the 2020 census, but didn't get much from Congress to do it.
If you look at the Census Bureau funding from 2012 through 2017, that's a 5-year period. So they received $200 million less than what they'd asked for. And we thought we had to prioritize on the automation because we didn't think we could do a paper and pencil census again in today's world. We thought that was unsustainable.
Even if the online census goes smoothly, there's another wrinkle for 2020. In March, the Trump administration announced that a question asking about citizenship would be added to the census.
I am personally concerned that the addition of the citizenship on the census could cause a fairly large non-response and a fairly large undercount of certain populations. That undercount would be with us for 10 years.
The citizenship question isn't on the test census. It was added too late.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us.
But at a meeting of city officials and local leaders, the question is all anyone can talk about. And they're the only ones talking about the test run at all.
No matter how much we tell folks that the citizenship question is not on the test run, it still gets muddled all together, as if that doesn't make the situation difficult and critical enough. Now, we know here that in Rhode Island, we're on the cusp of losing a seat in Congress. This test run is not only important to us, but it's really valuable to the rest of the country.
The test run doesn't officially count for anything, but it is the only practice the Bureau gets in convincing people to fill out the census. And without the money to do that promotion and get people to actually participate, the task for 2020 becomes even harder.
We look at this and it looks like pieces of paper, but it's a brick in the new school. It's a new police car for the emergency management services. It's an extra lane in a road that needs transportation services because the area has grown so much. That's what this is about.
This is a cryptocurrency shrine. You kneel at the altar and type in a prayer to Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious founder of Bitcoin.
We feel that Bitcoin and blockchain enthusiasm is a little bit like religious in a way, and like you really have to believe in it and have faith for it to have any value, and we find that to be interesting and kind of funny.
This altar is actually a work of blockchain art, which, given its usual associations with anarchic financial systems, might seem a little bit confusing. But here's the simplest explanation. The blockchain is a public ledger where you can't erase or add anything. By registering a work of art on the blockchain and updating it every time it's bought, sold, or even moved from one gallery to another, you create a fingerprint that could prove its authenticity and discourage thieves and counterfeiters. Everything you see here, the paintings, the digital images, the sculptures, have all been registered on the blockchain.
Oh, yes! You get the yes whale.
The yes whale.
That's awesome. But the cool thing is, I had my first IPO, which is initial painting offering. I basically
10 years ago, Yi-Ying Liu created this image and posted it on the internet. One of the founders of Twitter saw it and applied it to Twitter's error page.
How much did they pay you for this?
I think a lot of good commas.
Karma points?
Yes.
Did they pay you actual money?
A lot of comma points. I'm just going to leave it like that.
So this image has been seen by millions of people. How does a blockchain help you commercially sell it now?
In this case, if you can attach your creation and you can put it on blockchain, it's almost like copyright registration if you think about it. If the blockchain technology is existing, then it would probably be easier for you to quantify the value of the art.
My wife told me how much I could spend, and I think I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it.
So everything here, you're going to be able to bid on and buy with crypto.
All this is interesting enough, but you can't have a crypto event without some rich people throwing around lots of money.
You ready to auction some art?
I'm not crypto rich, but I wanted to buy that whale.
Online, I have bid $1,000, so I need $1,100 next. $1,100, I saw it here. $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $2,628, hands everywhere. $3,032 with you, sir, at $3,200. $6,000 though against you. It is sold. Congratulations for $12,000.
My coveted whale went for 4 times the expected price, but the real big spenders in the audience were after the crypto kitty.
It is very cute, although it doesn't necessarily look like this guy.
The blockchain art craze started with these little cats, which have sold for over 6 figures in the past. But tonight, one of the rarest kitties of them all was being auctioned off.
Number 2, I can start straight away online at $11,000. Then $18,000. $36,000. I'll take 80 from you, sir. $80,000. $85,000. $90,000. And it is sold for $140,000.
You got up over 6 figures for this crypto kitty thing. Like, what were you thinking? Like, why is that worth it for you?
Crypto kitties is an iconic part of this whole ecosystem. And I figured the first live auction for crypto kitties, it's probably cheap what the guy bought it for. I set myself a limit at $100K, which I thought was kind of ludicrous, but at least it went to charity.
What did you want to express in that kitty?
I just wanted to play around with that kind of worship thing and again the monolith, the kind of mystery thing, as the blockchain is kind of a mystery for a lot of people. We're just scratching the surface of like what this blockchain art relationship will bring to digital art and like kind of rise up the value of digital art, and I think that's kind of very, very exciting thing.
It's not election.
No.
Because we have only one person who will win, and everybody knows about it.
Ну, с моей точки зрения, альтернативы господину Путину нет.
На выбор нас не пускают. Конечно, мы будем делать протестные акции.
Стабильный электорат, очень много сторонник улыбаются и сделают селфи. У меня 200 тысяч селфи. Сколько у Трампа селфи? Сколько у него?